Hi, everybody. Welcome to another CSS Capism event. As I said earlier, this event started by just an idea by Itai, and I asked Ben if he wants to come and show us all of these amazing things that he does. Ben, hi, thank you for coming, and the floor is yours.
Okay, so yeah, you might have seen some of my things before. I just mess around with CSS basically as a hobby. I started by getting into it by trying. I was writing a story. See if I can find it. Can't remember. I'll put it down. I was writing a story and I wanted to illustrate it. This story, I wanted to illustrate it in instead of making it a book, I'll just make it a scrollable website. I thought because there's no point in making fake books these days, since the days of Flash. So I wanted to illustrate it, and I couldn't really be. I didn't have any SVG software, and I couldn't be bothered to find a pen and paper. So I thought as soon as I was sitting in front of my laptop thinking about what to do, I thought I'd just draw with CSS because that was there and I was doing it anyway. So I started writing the story and started drawing CSS cartoons for each chapter. So they change as you scroll through. And then when I got to the end, I was starting to get a bit more adventurous with the CSS. And when I got to the end, well, as far as I got so far, I drew this glass and thought it was, as simple as it is there, I thought that's really nice to draw glasses in CSS. So I wondered if I could do it properly. So I took a picture of a glass and then can I find it in here? And then did a sort of photorealistic one, which was about 5 years ago now, but it seemed to be popular on Twitter as it was at the time.
Very popular.
So yeah, that was the first one I did, and it went sort of viralish a bit. And so yeah, I really got into it, and I thought I'll complete the trilogy of this was a still life. I thought I'd do a portrait of my daughter, which is that one there. And then I did a landscape a bit later. And along the way, I've started picking up sort of better ways to code and little techniques. So this one, I put all the palette as variables, so you can change the color of the sun, which affects all the other colors that are from it. Because I start off with the yellow, and then I've sort of gone through this, rotated around the spectrum to get a red, and then rotated around the other way to get a green. So it's all comes from the yellow to begin with.
You can do it with pure CSS now, not SAS and animate it along the way, like do a sunset.
Sorry?
So now you can do the color functions in pure CSS, so you can actually
Yeah,
animate
you
them.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got. I've got so into SAS that I've completely forgotten about normal CSS these days. Just the first thing I do is start typing in SAS. So yeah, so then I did those, and I started just doing other bits and bobs along the way. I sort of did this one as I'm sure you'll know Diane Smith, who did the Renaissance art. I kind of did this one in homage because it's sort of Renaissance art, being the king in the picture. I thought that'd be a nice thing to do. And the actual thing that took the longest is to draw the shadow on this one. It was to get it to look like a shadow when it's not really there. I mean, this is a separate thing to that thing.
Yeah.
It took ages. But then yeah, things just so and then I did this sort of Halloween thing where the spider follows where your mouse is on the mouse overs, and that led into doing more games and things that move. So I did this gallery to show you the 3 things that I'd completed. And because I'd learned how to do the hover effects from the spiderweb, I can animate around this. It's just a cube. Everyone probably has done a 3D cube in there as a place to start. So this is just a cube, but you're inside it.
And all the hover and the actions are pure CSS, just to clarify.
Yeah, there's no JavaScript or anything. It's all just hover effects. It's quite a fun one, which is you can zoom in by holding it, and you can double click, which is CSS. To go. So in order to get double clicking to work, you on the action. So on the action state, you then move a div out of the way of the other div, and then the second div is the clickable link to where you want to go.
Okay, that's smart.
It's amazing. I mean, it's like blew my mind when I first saw it. I have a question. Do you draw by hand also?
Yeah, I've always drawn. My parents were both artists, so I've always sort of been quite good at it, and did illustration at university.
And before you start a new project, you start by sketching it by hand or straight up CSS?
Yeah, no, I'll just go for it as CSS.
Oh.
Apart from one, well, because most of them, like these were all just copies of photos I've done. That's a photo of my daughter.
Yeah.
That's a photo of a place I visited in the UK, and that's a photo of a lemon I chopped up in a table. So I just traced them basically to start with, until you cover up so much of the photo you can't trace it anymore. And this has a few little things that you can turn the lights off, which is all SAS filtering. So yeah, this one I sketched beforehand because this one isn't a copy of a photograph. I wanted to do something that is completely original. It only exists in this code pen. The what they call pyramids are just a sort of copy of going there on Google Earth, and then this is also from Google Earth, a rubbish site. And then this I drew. I wanted to draw this sort of alien spaceship vacuum cleaner thing come to save the Earth. And I sketched it in sort of beforehand, but then I wanted to get it to look as realistic as possible, so I had to learn Blender. I learned Blender to do it, which took a while. So I drew it in Blender and then copied what I did in Blender into this.
So Blender helped you with like understanding the shadings and the perspective, or just, get the image of what you want?
Yeah, and kind of. It was the design of the ship. I didn't really know how to do it. I could have drawn it, but it was a lot easier and a lot more realistic than if doing it in Blender. And I kind of wanted to learn Blender, and it looked like a fun thing to do. And it is. It's a really cool program.
Yeah.
I really like it. The hardest part of these was doing this in CSS because I didn't really know how to do that, and it took a while, especially getting because this is just a repeating background gradient.
Yeah.
And then
Have you ever counted the number of objects on this?
no.
Can you estimate, like guesstimate, maybe?
Well,
It's a lot.
there's 365 lines of HTML.
It's in the thousand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it took a year to do this one. I was doing like a bit of Lissa every night. Yeah. Anyway, that's that one. And then there's this. I wanted to do something. I wanted to sort of move into games a bit more, so I did this one, which is a sort of copy of a game called Townscaper, which is really cool. And if you draw in the air, you get tree houses, and if you draw from the ground, you get brick buildings. So to work out to make it aware of where you're clicking and the path it had to follow was a lot of formulas going on, which took ages to work out. I originally started just drawing it like going, all right, I'll draw that house there, then I'll draw this one, and then I'll draw this one, and then that would be one thing. And then I'll just keep going. I got through here, and then I realized there's so many combinations that I couldn't possibly keep going with that. So I had to do a more simplistic way that meant I could do it. But yeah, it's got little details like the island sort of shakes when you put a building on it, and the leaves fall from the tree. And the sun's constantly setting.
And what is the purpose for those who haven't played the game?
You've got to try and build a lighthouse before the sun sets, or else the ship will crash into the island.
Okay, I'm not gonna ruin the game for those who haven't played it yet, but it's a really nice thinking game. Like it's a nice puzzle actually.
Yeah, there's a few clues. Like if you there's a round window there, which lighthouses have round windows, so that's a sort of a bit of a clue. But yeah, the sun sets, and then so it's fun to do all the colours and changing whilst rotating the sun around, and the moon comes up, and then so it's not completely black. It sort of lights back in again in a sort of evening light way. Anyway, so that's that. But yeah, I just sort of have these. After finishing one thing, I think, oh, I'd like to do that, or I see something that I'd like to try to recreate in CSS. I was drawing this. I was trying to make something drag. I wanted to see if you, because I'd done the double click, I wanted to see if you could actually drag and get that to work. But I was drawing this dragster as a pun on the word drag, and it reminded me of Mario. So I abandoned doing that and started drawing Mario instead, which doesn't drag, but you can make it do a few things. Like if you get those red ones like that, you can make it spin like it does in the original N64 version.
Cool.
But drawing that was quite complicated, especially around the back and below the neck to get all the shapes.
Have you used any preprocessor or a 3D model?
I just drew it. I saw the other day, I was looking around, and someone's made a 3D generator that you can, so that's probably made everyone's life easier if they want to do that. You can actually draw like Blender, but it creates CSS. But I've not used it yet. And then I wanted to see if I could create a actual realistic looking film, like with camera shake and things like that. So I attempted that. Doesn't seem to be rendering quite right anymore because all the grass blows, but it doesn't seem to be that. That's because I put juice in, turns off some of the settings. So yeah, that was trying to get something to look as real as possible. And I keep trying to draw organic things because it's really hard to draw organic things. It's much easier to draw man-made things. So I keep challenging myself by trying to get organic to look right. And this is just all loads of SAS loops. So I didn't have to draw every branch and leaf by hand. Just trying to get it to look sort of realistic by just looping. And then a few more games, table tennis game that I did, and then the maze that we were talking about earlier, which doesn't work whatsoever on
Safari. No, but so the Lighthouse game you made is like a pre-project for this one because you still need those same formulas of what when you click what, right?
Well, this one is actually follow on from, I suppose the Lighthouse was, and then this one. I originally thought I could just, like those computer games like Guitar Hero where you have to click at the right time. I thought I could just layer over an invisible Guitar Hero style grid system and you just have to click at the right time. But then I realized you didn't have to do any of that because once you've clicked one button, you just get rid of that button and you're on the next button. And so you can click through this and it just disposes of one button and then moves on to the next frame. Well, you have to hit it at the right time because the button only appears at the right time. But then it's just a click-through pattern of button after button after button, which is exactly what happens, how the maze works. Which gave me the idea for it. So once you click this, the button has actually disappeared and a new one's come in its place, which then moves you on to the next place. So it's just the maze, what you're looking at isn't connected to the path you follow. It just, they sort of both follow the same path, but they're not really that connected. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing I like about this, which is you can't really notice, there's a sort of element of depth that gets darker in the distance. So I've sort of put this grid of before and afters, funny angles going backwards into the distance, and so when you walk through them, you don't really notice walking through them, but it brings this bit lighter than looking through all those sort of semi-opaque layers. So that was quite fun. I quite enjoyed building that one. And then onto so so my friend made this song and she said she wasn't happy with her video. So I said, I'll have a go at making a video for you using CSS.
Yeah, that's normal.
So so it's about the moon, as you can tell. So I thought I could draw the moon in CSS. That would be quite relatively easy. But it's getting spheres to work in CSS is a challenge. This is the first one I came up with, which is a bit too simplistic. I want it to be realistic, and making a sphere look real is a bit of a challenge, especially for the browser to render. So I kept messing around with different ways of doing it, and it went wrong, and it turned into the sun. But I wanted the sun anyway because I want to fly around the solar system. So you do a sun fly past. Probably not going to render very well on here. So you sort of fly past the sun. And then there's a little satellite that comes across. Sputnik. And then I'll show you on this version. It'd be easier. And then Earth will come into shot, and then you'll fly past Earth, and then the moon will be in the shot, and then the whole video will be about the moon when I get there. So I've made 15 seconds of a 6-minute song.
6 minutes. It's a long song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I regret picking such a long song now. I hadn't realized it's 5.5 minutes. So
yeah, but how long was those 15 seconds? How long did it took you to make it?
I think I've been doing it for about 2 months, 3 months.
Doing stop motion animation is something like a month second or something like that. But yeah, okay. Noam, do you had a question?
Yes. Since a lot of your work that you're showing involves animation, do you ever concern yourself like with the CSS properties that use GPU versus the CPU?
Yeah, I'm always struggling because I always want to use the GPU as much as possible because my things are horrible for the browser engine. So I always want to try and make them as slick, as smooth as possible. But I'm always having this constant battle with. I want lots of detail, but I also want it to run. So there's sort of things you have to leave out in order to do it. And I've read quite a lot about trying to use the GPU as much as possible, but I struggle in doing it. So it's just a constant investigation. But I wasn't making that video all the time. I'd made this as well whilst I'm making the moon video, and I'm also working on something else at the moment. So I'm getting distracted quite a lot. The moon video is going to be a long project. But this one I just saw someone had drawn. There was an artist that drawn a mock-up of a coffee pot on Instagram. So I thought, oh, that looks like a fun thing to do in CSS because it's quite easy with its octagonal sides. And it turned into this. And the thing that I quite liked is I've got the light to stay. I've never achieved that before. So it's 3D CSS, and the light is always on one side, and it's always dark on the other side. And it became more about the lighting effect than anything else.
Yeah, lighting with CSS is it sounds very simple, but it's very hard because you use pretty much the same techniques as they used like 100 years ago. If you want something to be lighter in the light, just paint it in the lighter color. If it's supposed to be in the dark, just paint it in a darker color. That's it. There's no light engine. There's nothing to make that job for you.
There was no way of doing it at all until recently, but now the filters. So this is a lightness and like a brightness filter. These are brighter than that basically, and this has a color. Rotating the color a bit, so this is yellower than this side, which is bluer.
Oh, that's nice attention to details.
But the annoying thing is you can't do the shadows very well. So this shadow on this candle is a bit rubbish. It's not. It should spread right up onto the side, but it's not possible. And the spout shadow is tiny because I needed to fit it into this bit. I couldn't wrap it around any further. But yeah, you have to sort of make compromises. So
yep.
Quite fun to do and find all the compromises you need to make.
Yep.
So that's pretty much where I am now.
Well, amazing. First of all, any questions before I'm starting with mine?
Yeah, can I have a question?
Yeah, Tom.
Hey, Ben. First of all, amazing work. I saw you at with Amit at CSS Day, and then I think you said that you spend no more than an hour a day on this stuff.
Yeah,
this is what?
Yeah, I don't spend very long. Just like in the evening, I do an hour at the most. Probably.
Yeah, I wanted to ask: is this still your mindset, or you find yourself like burning a weekend on these things sometimes?
If I've got nothing on that day, yeah, I'll probably spend longer. But it's normally just something I do in my spare time when I have a few minutes, a few hours.
Really nice. Thank
Just
you.
Fun.
I have another question.
Yeah.
So with my job, I'm mostly doing practical CSS. And these things are like really stunning and amazing and very inspiring. Like I said, what's the first steps in the transitions from like practical CSS, for web, then doing actual art?
Well, it's pretty pointless to do the actual art. There's no money in it, but I've learned so much from doing it. What I've learned goes back to my day job and makes my day job so quick. Because I'm always prototyping things for work. I can knock up the prototype much faster than I used to be able to, and I don't even, because I've learned all the tricks of not using JavaScript. I don't have to use JavaScript. I can do everything in CSS and just do it really quick. So it's really useful in that way. Basically, just find a picture you like, and trace it. That's the best way to start, I think. And the amount of stuff you learn from trying to make every shape fit, it's quite ridiculous how much you learn through the process.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like the question a lot of people ask me is like, why? Like, why do I do the things I do with CSS? And like the first things I answer is just I learn more. I know CSS better because I try to push the limits, and I think Ben is pushing the limits way more than anybody else. But just if you are pushing yourself, there's a saying in Hebrew, this is exactly the same concept. You push yourself doing pointless things, but when you need to do practical things, it's so much easier. You have so many more tools to do those things. So yeah, it's better.
And it's fun. It's really relaxing just tracing. It's surprisingly relaxing, like tracing shapes with squares and rounding the corners and twisting.
Yeah, so and about tracing, so if you are doing 2D artwork with CSS, so tracing is great. If you're doing 3D, so maybe tracing is I don't know how you can trace 3D, but maybe you can find something. But for me, the first place to start is like, how do I do X? Like, try something that is not possible with CSS, and then just try to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually my inspiration. Is try and do something that's I don't know how to do yet.
I have a question about
Hello,
your Amit. I have a question about your pixelated character walking
Oh yeah.
animation. I've looked at it and I see you import your entire animation from another CSS, which is
Well, that wasn't my
huge.
that wasn't my intention.
No, I know. It's just huge. I'm just wondering, did you actually write this pixel by pixel?
Yeah. So I didn't realize that CodePen has a limit, and I didn't know that. So yeah, the CSS is so big I couldn't fit it in, so it's just on my server, and I'm linking to it. But it's just it's just box shadows that I drew by hand. But I sort of, when I was little, I used to try and make computer games, like do the graphics for them. And so I spent a lot of time drawing in pixels because that's all there was at the time. And so I'm very used to doing pixel art. So yeah, I basically drew the person. You can probably.
Can we just view the source of this huge file, just to see it?
Yeah. So I basically, I'll go back to that in a minute. So I was basically started by making a character walk, and then I sort of added some controls to be able to help myself build it. And at this point, I've got one arm, and I've just copied it over to there. But it's basically moving one pixel at a time in a proper traditional way, and then I moved the whole background one pixel at a time. These ones 4 pixels at a time, so it looks like it's got a bit of parallax scrolling going on. It was quite a boring process of pressing one number, pressing the down arrow, pressing another number, pressing down for weeks. Oh yeah, sorry. So the actual oops. Try that again. So there's the box shadows.
Oh, that's
Just look at the scroll.
yeah. I'm looking at the scroll. Oh, that's huge.
But when I wrote it, it wasn't minified like this. If you put like forward slash at the end of the line after the comma, you put double forward slash, you can do a new line, so it's much easier to write. So yeah, it was a massively long list rather than in this format.
Okay.
So it was a bit easier.
And it's all just keyframes with box shadows.
Yeah.
Amazing.
This is insane.
I don't know whether you
Yeah.
can do keyframes. I can't even remember how to do it now. It's so long ago. But yeah, it's basically the whole thing in one keyframe, then the whole thing in the next keyframe, like every step. I think I did it in steps.
Yeah, they're in steps.
And there's no use of it being box shadows except you can
make them bigger. Yeah.
Where is one? You can make it rounded if you want to.
Ooh. That's cool.
But yeah, that took a while. But that was fun. I enjoyed doing that one. And yeah, it wasn't until the end of the thing that I realized that I could probably, because I was sort of wanting to do a single div, because everyone does single divs, especially this time of year. And then I realized I didn't actually need a div. I can just use the after of the body. So a zero div thing.
That's
we're
beautiful.
we're October is no yeah, October is one div, right?
Yeah.
And November is no Divember, so no div things. Any other questions, people? Yeah, no.
It's a follow-up for the when I asked about the browsers. Do you also concern yourself about responsiveness, like to see if it works on mobiles, on screens?
Everything I do is responsive. I don't like them not being.
Very good.
So with the art, the easy way to do that is find something simple. The easy way to do that is just make it like v min or v width, and then
Yes. So
the
you're
root,
putting the font size on the HTML, and then you're setting all the sizes in EM, right?
yeah. So the
Yeah.
root is the font size that adjusts to the screen width, and then everything else is just rem. So always go back to the root. So it makes things really easy to make responsive.
Mm-hmm.
And what, like, would do you do it the desktop first, mobile first, or you're just as
Desktop.
you go?
Desktop first, yeah. Except for that game, the table tennis game, which I wanted to make I wanted it to be a mobile app almost. So it's just the width of a phone. It's not really responsive because it's already the right width.
Any other questions, Itai?
Yeah. How do you trace your art? For example, are you putting the image in front and just tracing it? So using a screen.
So I've sort of done various methods, but so I usually start off with it just as an image in the right size I want it, and then trace over the image until I can't see it anymore. And then I tried putting it semi-transparent over the top, but then that makes it impossible to click through, so it's annoying. So you can't find where you were. And so I used JavaScript or something just to, if I click the screen, the image appears, and so I can just like flick it on and off to see if it fits. It seems to be the best way of doing it. I don't really have any examples of an image. Oh, maybe this one's good. No. Oh, it does. So yeah, there you go. So I just put it on a click so you can see it, draw the shape, move the shape into position. You just keep clicking it really fast until
this is the image that you used on your lectures in CSS Day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and if you want to, Itai, there's a video of his lecture from CSS Day, amazing lecture, obviously, where you can actually see him work and trace this image.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about what I was doing, and it's quite tricky to code and talk at the same time.
Tell me about it.
So it's quite a lot of silence in that lecture. And I never finished this either. It got abandoned. I saw this sort of idea on the plane on the way back, so I started doing that instead.
Any other questions, people? Well, I actually have a couple. First of all, your latest project you said it's with a music video, right, Ben?
Yeah.
How do you sync the music and the animation? Because I know it's a problem, and not just the syncing, like play, pause, stop. Is there something that you're gonna use without GS, or are you gonna just do it?
I don't know what I'm going to do, because you can't really play music with CSS. I think I might have to put I think I might have to put JavaScript in just to play the music to start with. But the video I got to work. So this is all just CSS. The way it plays, you just click it and it starts all the keyframes. So that's fairly easy. But yeah, the music I'm going to have to attach to the click by JavaScript, I think. Or whether it never has music, it only has music in the YouTube version of it. I don't know.
Okay. And one more thing, do you ever go back to your old projects? Like we talked earlier about doing the thing now with color function in CSS instead of Sass, or like the story that you saw at the beginning. Now you can use scroll driven animation and things like that. Do you ever go back to your old projects and redo them or improve them?
No, I haven't done. My plan is to carry on writing this story at some point. I only did 2 chapters. And then I sort of got into doing all this stuff instead, and haven't gone back yet. But I would like to finish that story and finish animating it. And I would get rid of all the JavaScript that I used before, because I've learned so much since then. But no, I don't think I've ever gone back to one. I mean, after they usually take so long, you just take months, and I'm usually bored of them by then. I never want to see them again.
Okay. Any other questions, people? Is CSS going to replace Unreal Engine? No. But maybe Ben, maybe you think otherwise?
No, it needs to be a bit. Talking of Unreal Engine, there was a video someone made called Ace Roller that was telling you on YouTube about how to make fur using something called shell rendering. So I attempted to make fur in CSS, but I couldn't get it that fine. But it sort of looks like a bit of a furry cube for no apparent reason. Every hair sort of wobbles independently, but you can't really tell. It's too minute.
Okay.
It's quite fun.
That's cool.
But yeah,
so that's your next project?
No, that was just a quick thing.
Okay.
My next project is making a room where all the furniture falls over.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
What was it? I was going to say something, but I forgot now. Oh yeah, so yeah, you can't have a proper 3D game in CSS because it's ridiculous how it uses that consumes all the CPU and all the GPU. Very inefficient.
That's right. Yeah. So if any other questions? If there's any other questions,
I have one. A lot of new CSS properties and functions nowadays. What would you like to see in the new, like something new in the CSS spec? I know you use Sass, but about the CSS spec.
Yeah. There was something recently I thought that would be really nice. That new title. I can't remember what is it for now. There's a new way of you can just say make this title always look pretty, and it puts pushes it spaces it really nicely. Just
Text trap.
Oh, the text line pretty.
yeah.
Text line pretty.
I
Yeah.
want that, but for Flexbox. So you can put divs.
Oh yeah, we actually talked about it. I don't remember who said it, but we actually talked about it. To have a text line pretty for Flexbox. Yeah.
I think they are making it. They said,
Yeah.
which would be cool. But yeah, but other than that, I quite like having the limits of the old-fashioned CSS and not having things are getting too easy now.
Yeah, I'm using CSS2. Yeah, I'm just using
Yeah.
CSS2 and that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. So thank you, Ben. And
Thank you.
if there's not any other questions, so
One last question.
okay, one last question.
Ben, who's your inspiration? Like when you want to get some inspiration from like other people in the industry.
Inspiration in the industry. Well, I'm trying to get good at, rather than CSS at the moment, I'm trying to get good at making YouTube videos. So my inspiration for that is Kevin Powell.
Yeah.
And I'm desperate to get 1,000 subscribers. I've got 981. I'm so close. Really
Oh wait, I'm gonna be next.
I'll subscribe after this.
Wait, are you starting doing your own video channel, video content?
I've normally just put like stop motion videos of me making them, but this was the first one I did some talking in, and it was quite fun. Although the video is quite boring, but me doing it was fun. So I might start talking a bit more.
Okay.
See how that evolves. And also, the person I stole the music from could do with some more subscribers. She hasn't got very many. If you wouldn't mind.
Great. So, Itai, do you have any question?
Oh,
No.
thank you very
So,
much.
thank you, Ben.
Thank
And everybody say hi. And thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your
Thank
amazing
you.
work.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, and bye.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have anything else you want to say, to add, to plug, to?
No, I think that's all I wanted to plug.
Yeah, so thank you. And if you are looking for Ben, you can find him, I think, on Twitter. Where's the best place to find you, find your work?
Yeah, Twitter mainly, even though everyone else has given up on it.
I haven't given. I mean, I kind of lately, but it's not because of Twitter. It's because of other things.
Yeah, I can't really get on with Blue Sky or the other one. So I seem to keep going back to Twitter or Instagram on, but I don't have many followers in that. Or LinkedIn seems to be quite popular these days since the demise of Twitter.
Yeah,
CodePen is more than enough. Just go to CodePen.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. And that's it. I don't think that we have enough time to do live coding today. Maybe we're gonna do more like winter live coding next week. And so that's it. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And bye bye.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
again, Ben.
Thank you.